of the fuselage.
Sort of hovering outside, or with the space in between.
The final ignition time has formally released.
Yes, we've got 10 minutes to go.
4 o'clock, 27 minutes, and 31 seconds.
Yes.
So that's the accurate time for the ignition. But
so
it's
we're
very
looking
interesting,
at
that
almost exactly 10 minutes from now.
Yeah. That it's very interesting that the countdown to zero, the definition in China and other countries are different. In China, the zero moment means the ignition time, but in other countries, for instance, in the US, the zero means the liftoff time, the liftoff moment. So it's different for several second interval. So you can always hear the voice during the launch of China when ignition in zero, and the ground team will report the real liftoff time.
So what we're seeing now, the 4:27:31, that's the ignition time.
So that's accurate.
So the launch will be a few more seconds or so following that.
So you won't see fire, after zero, for 1 or 2 seconds, and then there's a fire.
But
so a little
in
delay.
US, you can see the fire just before zero because the ignition is several hundreds ahead of the liftoff, and at time zero, it will lift off.
Is it very precise then, the amount of time? Would they know in advance the amount of time between ignition and actual liftoff? Can that be calculated in advance?
That's very important.
It has to be very careful because the liftoff time is what we call a route parameter. That can calculate. It can be used for a route reference for calculation of the orbit. So once liftoff, there is going to be announcement, the exact timing up to the milliseconds, what time the liftoff. Then,
exactly.
So then after we see the ignition, which was announced there, how many more seconds after that will we then see the rocket actually lift off?
Yeah.
Just 2 seconds. Okay. So it's not a big delay.
The ground team will report the real liftoff time, the real liftoff moment, accurate to milliseconds.
Yeah, after the liftoff, there's a first announcement. You can hear from there's a parameter that's going to be announced by the control. So there's going to be a series of numbers. So that number is going to be used for calculation of exact orbit in the coming future.
For instance, for this launch, there will be a voice called 起飞时刻动4时27分31秒497毫秒.
Would you like to give that to us in English?
Okay,
Professor Yang?
That's an example. So that called the real liftoff time is 4 o'clock, 27 minutes and 31 seconds and several milliseconds.
So that would be phonetically similar to
China. So that's so every time the same style.
Yeah, but the cruise looks calm and firm, as they call it, and they're ready to experience.
They still haven't
2 of them are first timers.
Yeah, they still haven't put their visor, the helmet on properly, have they?
So you can see Miss Wang Haoze sit nearest to the camera. And already we can see her face mask her face window has already been closed, I believe.
Wait, she's the one that's at the bottom of the screen, or the farther one? She's the one at the far end,
closer
right?
to the
bottom of the screen.
Bottom of the screen. Yes, exactly. So as I mentioned, she is 03. Usually the flight engineer and all the payload experts sit in this position. And 02, as I mentioned, is Mr. Song Yingdong.
He's got the parachute button.
Yeah. To control, just not this time, just during the reentry half a year later. I hope he will also conduct a vertical landing.
Well, that would be impressive. It would be
that
something
would be
to remember
more
for him.
For all the 3 crew members.
And especially for him being his first time up there and the first time return, if you get a vertical landing.
But horizontal, you can imagine you're being strapped by the safety belt to your seat, maybe face down.
Yes, exactly. Not very comfortable.
So if the vehicle, that there is a deviation between the center of his mass and a symmetrical axis. So because of this deviation, usually, in most cases, it will lie down. So that will be much more inconvenient for the astronauts.
So we're looking at some of the conditions right now at the temperature, 3 degrees only.
But
visibility, very low wind speed, right? 0.8 meters per second.
Which
actually,
is
that low?
Yeah. Actually,
good visibility.
it is deep autumn in Jiqian Central Shenzhen, much colder than the night of Beijing. We can see Miss Sun Ye, the very, very sick clothes.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So, 5 more minutes to go till ignition time. And just talk us through what the astronauts will be experiencing during the launch before they reach orbit.
Parameters, and also maybe, as I mentioned, maybe they will already close their face masks, and also.
That's the 5 minutes countdown.
5 minutes and counting.
But the astronauts won't be able to see outside at the first stage, and then after the jettison of the escape tower and the fairing, they're going to have a little window they can see outside. Yeah, see the horizon.
The what calls the launch azimuth, or the flight direction of this Launch March 2F is going to the east, and then a little bit to the south. So maybe at the separation of the second stage and the Shenzhou spacecraft, maybe they can already see the sunshine, maybe. And at that moment, they can have the light from the window.
And Mr. Shi, can you give us a sort of equivalent of what it would feel like to be an astronaut during this whole, after the liftoff, especially with the G-force and everything, what would it feel like to us, if we can find something?
If you can imagine you're in a car, in a sports car, and you accelerate very quickly, it's like an airplane or even faster, then you go vertically, but you're going vertically up with the acceleration, and then that would happen in the first, let's say, 10 minutes. The first 3 or 4 minutes, you get very quick acceleration, and there's what we call a max Q, the biggest time biggest stress that you can experience in the launching.
The biggest stress.
And then there's also issues what we call a pogo. Sometimes it go up and down.
Oh.
And
vibration.
Then, vibration. It's a vertical vibration, we call pogo. And then after like 10 minutes, and then there's a seize of the engine, and then you feel microgravity. You don't feel anything. It's like floating in space. So that's the whole process of launching, I think.
Usually, the thrust of the engines is a constant value. Okay,
3 minutes.
T-minus 3 minutes and counting. But that the propellants become less and less. So the acceleration become more and more. You can feel more and more G-forces. So that is very normal. So usually the max G-forces happen during the separation of the stage. So that is the reason.
And this pogo stage you're talking about, I guess that's why they need the seat to be so snugly
you can feel
fit
that
to
all
their
your organs will go out.
Yeah. It's like
to reduce the amount of space that you could be hitting against the chair.
It's a big suffering, yes.
That Mr. Yang Liwei feels extremely uncomfortable because that the G-forces combines with the vibration together. This can never be simulated on the ground simultaneously.
So they can't really prepare for this then, you're saying? If it can't be simulated on the ground, can they
They will have trainings of the G-forces. They will have the trainings of the vibration. But
not
on
together.
The ground, they cannot be combined together.
So then only
there's room for you to improve the rocket itself and make it more smooth.
So really, only astronauts who've made the successful mission to space and back they're the only people who've actually can experience this movement, I suppose, of the launch. You can't replicate it here on Earth so far.
It's out of the Earth.
Okay, please notice it's already less than 2 minutes for the liftoff. And next, as I emphasized, some of the arm connected to the launch vehicle will be unplugged.
So all those umbilical cords, essentially. They're looking very tense there. This is the control center in Zhuquan.
We're going to have a countdown at any time.
So we also have cameras mounted on these arms to monitor the separation position, the unplugged position. So today we have more measures than before to ensure the safety.
Oh, how nervous they're feeling. This is the 1 minute countdown now.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
That means everything has to be in green light. Nobody has to press the red button.
Don't touch anything.
Yeah. The number of systems that has to work together.
But they're so practiced at this now. They're so experienced with this whole process.
All the
40
arms
seconds.
untouched.
30 seconds to go.
So the transfer of power supply also accomplished.
The rocket
20
is on its own.
seconds.
Maybe the astronaut will salute.
Yeah, normally.
I feel the tension. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Salute. That's a report of the really top time. And the tower is cleared now.
I counted as well after the ignition, about 2 seconds, yes.
So
That's it,
we
that's a
already
long march
have
carrier
a
rocket.
successful liftoff. After about 2 minutes, we will have what Yansu mentioned, the first separation.
Right,
The
we'll be
jettisoning
watching
of
that
the
in a minute.
emergency escape tower.
This you see is a strap-on booster.
Yeah, exactly. So this
The
is the
camera from the
camera
outside.
mounted on the core stage.
Yeah.
We can see 2 of the 4 strap-on boosters, 2 of the 4 side boosters. So as I mentioned, each have 1 engine.
Looking
I
down.
think we're hearing,
Yeah.
really,
Looking backwards.
Nominal tracking.
so the very station.
Now we can see that on the right of the screen is the camera mounted inside the re-entry capsule, and on the left is what the camera, as Yansong the camera mounted on the core stage, looking backwards.
So at this point, they're not feeling so bad. It's when the boosters come
We
off.
have
they're saying
G-forces
that's
and
when-
vibration, not very
They're
comfortable.
accelerating. Yes.
And it became more and more worse because with more and more acceleration, with less and less propellants.
So it will get progressively worse. Right now is not the worst part.
There's a max Q. There's maximum time. You know.
Right.
You're in the transonic procedure.
So any minute now, I think we'll see the propellants come
The
off,
speed
right,
is
the
not
boosters.
still.
It is very interesting that maybe at this, maybe next ceremonies in Beijing, maybe on the top of this building, you can see the trajectory because it's very bright. And
We
it's
should
close to
get
Beijing.
outside.
You can see the trajectory of the second stage.
Now you can pay attention to the escape tower. It's going to be ejected anytime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At about 2
It's going to be
minutes.
a small fire on top of the rocket.
Right, looking at the very point of the rocket. Oh, there
okay.
it is. It just
Great.
went.
Jettison.
Yeah.
But still, we have rocket engines on the payload fairing. If anything wrong happens, we can still use the engines to separate the rocket.
The image on the right there that we saw was a simulation, was it? Or,
Yeah.
yeah.
And now this is a
Simulation.
real,
This is the-
real
yeah.
optical. Yeah.
Well, on the left of the screen is the infrared video images.
Yeah. Next stage is the separation of the strap-on booster. You're going to see four
Yeah.
strap-ons are going to be
4
separated at the same
light
time.
spots.
Yeah.
Okay. It seems
Looks like it's happening.
And this is when the
Yeah.
villagers will be
And
glad
then the
that
separation
they're
of the first
watching
stage.
a film
Yeah.
somewhere.
Okay. The first stage also separated.
That is the announcement of the boosters having separated.
Yeah. So the rocket is on the second stage.
Yeah. Yes. And the next step will be the separation of the 2 payload fairings. At that moment, maybe the astronaut can enjoy the view.
Yeah. The separation of the fairing means you're out of this world now. Then you're out of the atmosphere, and you have no drag
Do
from.
not
the-
need the protection of the
Literally out of
aerodynamic
this world.
forces.
Yeah.
Now, this is a video get by the camera mounted on the rear part of the second stage. And this is a video inside the payload fairing. We can see the folded solar panels of the Shenzhou spacecraft.
And when that is released,
You see
Okay.
the, yeah,
Separated.
the
there
fairing's
we go.
gone.
The bottom right screen there.
Fairing's gone. Now they can see the world.
But obviously, at this moment, the Shenzhou spacecraft is still in the shadow area of the Earth, so the
There's
astronaut cannot
not
see
much
the light of
view.
the sun.
Yeah.
But they can already view the beautiful Earth now.
They're checking their
It should be
manual
above
again.
Shandong at this moment.
Not yet, maybe 7 minutes later.
Yeah.
The separation point of the launch vehicle, the second stage, and the Shenzhou spacecraft will be to the east of the eastern coast of China Sea, maybe in the Yellow Sea area.
So it's all very precise where it's going at what time. You can predict.
Everything is designed.
USB 雷达跟踪正常，遥测信号正常。
So
The
there's
USB
a-
reader works normally, and also tracking.
Nominal tracking, nominal functioning. So everything goes well now.
Yeah, and the astronauts are looking pretty comfortable in there, flipping through their manuals.
Now you
again.
can see that on the second stage, we have one main engine and several vernier engines. The main engine has a thrust more than 80 tons. And the vernier engine to change the stability and also direction of the second stage. And the next step will be the shutdown of the main engine. But the full vernier engine is still working for several seconds to ensure the accuracy of the trajectory. Now you can see that's the second stage. Because it is at night, it's very bright.
Yeah.
This is a camera mounted on the end of the second stage, looking backwards.
So far with the Shenzhou missions, have we ever had a daytime launch?
I
With
think yes,
manned
we
missions?
do.
Manned missions?
Yes, we do.
The second stage works much longer than the first stage, although it has a shorter length, has less propellants, but because it only has one main engine, about 80 tons level, so it works much longer. Okay,
It's one of
Qingdao
the-
ground station
that's
has
one of
already
those.
have the data link connected to the launch vehicle.
So it's
But
near
this moment,
Shenzhou.
but this moment is still to the west.
Yes,
We're on
west,
track.
yeah.
Yeah. And then it will fly across the
Yeah.
Qingdao.
渭南 USB 雷达跟踪正常，遥测信
And
号
still
正
have
常。
connections with Weinan Station in Shanxi province.
That's my hometown.
Yeah.
Getting a good view there.
So you can visit the ground station.
So I guess it's above Hebei at
东
this
风
moment.
光学 USB 雷达
Maybe in
跟
Shandong.
踪正常，遥测校正常，东风飞行正常。
So after Shandong, it's going to be entering the Pacific, and then the boat will take over.
Our
for the control,
space
yeah.
tracking ship, our Yuanwang 3 space tracking ship.
So we can really draw out the map of exactly where this
You can
rocket
see
is
the
passing
bright
by
flame
now.
of the vernier engine, and also in the middle is the main engine, very bright. So the vernier engine can have a servo unit to move its direction to change the attitude of the second stage, and also to keep it stable.
What period of time are we looking at before they reach orbit?
About more than 9 minutes,
More than 9
after
minutes.
launch.
So I think you can see that the engine is continue to accelerate the capsule so that it can reach roughly 7.8 kilometers per second speed, which is what we call cosmic speed for not coming back to Earth, but it's circling around the Earth. That's the minimum speed that they request to go around the Earth, and also they're accelerating to the altitude of which is a little less than 400 kilometers above the Earth, which is the station
青岛
altitude.
飞船双补完成。
We said earlier how they chose this time so that the whole rendezvous and docking, the whole process will take less time, 6.5 hours, right? Then what's the longest that China's manned space missions have taken then for this process?
For the Shenzhou, for the Tiangong 1 and the Tiangong 2 missions, usually they took 2 days.
2 days.
Okay,
that's
the main
a big
engine
difference.
of the second stage has shut down, which means that the main acceleration procedure is already been accomplished. And the astronaut is now, the G-forces is much less than before,
Right.
much more comfortable than before. And then with several seconds will be the shutdown of the 4 vernier engines. You can now still see the 4 vernier engines.
Well, let's check in now with Zheng Yibing, who's at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center. Yibing, so everybody must be tracking the progress of the rocket there. What's the latest?
Shenzhou-19 spacecraft has been launched from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center, and we saw the exciting moment of the ignition and liftoff of the flight combination of Long March 2 FCAR rocket and Shenzhou-19 manned spacecraft. And this is the 14th manned space flight mission of China. And also, its mission is to send the Shenzhou-19 crew to China's Tiangong space station to take the baton from the Shenzhou-18 crew for the 6 month long stay in China's space station. And also here at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center, we saw the whole process of this launch sequence. From the see-off ceremony from the Wentiange Pavilion to the system check at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center, and from the counting down at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center to the separation of the boosters and the first and second stages. And while the three taïkonautes, or the Chinese astronauts, just like Mr. Yang Yuguang in the studio said, they look very comfortable. So Mr. Cai Xuzhe and Song Lingdong and Wang Haoze, they look very calm and determined. They do prepare for this mission. And while this mission, or the flight mission of the Shenzhou-19 crew takes a fast rendezvous and docking mode, just like the previous 7 mission from the Shenzhou-12 3 years ago to the Shenzhou-18 just 6 months ago. They all took the fast rendezvous docking mode. It took about 6.5 hours to get for the spacecraft to get to the Tiangong space station. So now at the current time, we saw on the big screen is the status of the Shenzhou-19 crew, but in the moment later, we are going to see the Shenzhou-18 crew. They're waiting in the China space station and waiting for the coming of the newcomers to the station. And during the recent days, they have made a very full preparation to welcome the newcomers. And we're going to see the meet and fantastic meet, the space meet of the 2 Shenzhou crews in China's Tiangong space station. Although this is a routine launch mission after China's space station entered its application and development stage, we all see the details, and we also see that is very exciting moment. Just like the crews of the Shenzhou's always said in the China space station together, China's space is always worth looking forward to. Back to you.
Yibing, thank you so much for being at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center.
Just during Yibing's description, we've already seen the successful separation between the end stage and the Shenzhou spacecraft. And now you may notice that the Shenzhou spacecraft is already in the sunshine area. You can see the beautiful curvature of the horizon of the Earth. Very beautiful.
This is the camera outside the capsule.
Yeah.
And so soon we'll be expecting the solar panels to open up.
Yeah,
right?
unfolded. Will be extended
that's
within several minutes.
That marks the success. Yeah.
Although we don't usually hear the announcement from the control center of the official,
with the commander of the launch site system. Now you can see the camera on the propulsion module, which can monitor the unfolding procedure of the launch solar panels.
And we just heard some various reports there.
And also, as I
normal.
emphasized, you can see the beautiful curvature of the Earth's horizon. Okay,
Yes.
unfolded. Each of our solar panel wing have 4 pieces. The Shenzhou spaceship.
How many solar panel wings does
2
this
wings.
have?
2 wings. Each have 4 pieces.
And then we can see the Shenzhou-18 crew in there eagerly awaiting. So we expect the 2 crews to meet by midday Beijing time, right?
Exactly.
Meet for lunch.
The 5th
Lunch
round-
date.